Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Harvesting Wisdom. I'm your host, Mike McMahon. With me is my co-host, Dan Nowell, partner in crime and Soil, Seed, and Water, and two of our partners in the Southwest Hemp Alliance from Texas and from California. We've got Mike McGuire, the owner of Western Fiber, and Tom Pyers with the general manager of Western Island Cotton Growers. Two guys with really good background, good bios. I'm going to read a little about it, but I'll let you guys fill it in. You started with Western Fiber and the ownership in 2013. You've been working there since '92, and Western Fiber's been around since '76. And you guys do a lot of different things, and I'll let you fill in the gap, but you're doing a lot of recycling, you're manufacturing insulation, you're doing a lot of research and development, you're pulling different fibers from different places, so you're kind of one of those important people in the world who are regenerating things that would normally just be thrown away. You've got a background in carpentry, restoration. You're in construction. You're big on sustainable wood and fiber products. You were a graduate of Washington State. I paid for UW for my son, so I guess we're adversaries. But you worked on energy programs, high performance building, insulation. Boy, you got to I could just go on and on and on here, but I'm trying to get the highlights. You've also you and Tom have a subdivision you're putting in Huron, and it's going to be tiny houses manufactured with hemp. We'll let you guys get into that. Tom, you're an engineer and a farmer and jack of all trades. You've been had a lot of leadership roles. You're doing sustainability. You do the day-to-day operations with the cotton gin for a long time. You're a key player in the cotton world, and with the ginning, and you're kind of the creator. You're the what Dan refers to as the Ford of the conversion from cotton gins to being able to do hemp decortication. And it's so critical to the evolution of the hemp industry, and it's also critical kind of to save the cotton industry and to utilize all this extremely expensive equipment that's been put in, right? So anyway, you've been on a bunch of different boards, national boards and regional boards, and I'll let you guys fill in a little bit. So I'm going to turn it over to Dan. Dan, you met these guys how and when, and how did you seek them out?
We were at the Tulare Ag Show, guys? Was that the very first time? The Tulare Ag Show, and these guys are amazing. And I do think, Thomas, you're the Henry Ford of the hemp mill, turned into a cotton gin turned into a hemp mill, and Michael, making blow-in installation out of industrial hemp. So that's what we're here to talk about a little bit today is those two things.
The hemp endeavor.
Yeah. What an incredible opportunity is for America to have both you guys, able to, show us the way to decorticate and to, build something out of hemp immediate. So we can start a little bit about Huron. That's a real
Yeah, it's a
common
joint
subject.
venture between the
Yeah,
two of you.
yeah,
Tell us about that.
yeah.
Well,
Mike, you want to
I
start?
guess. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, it's a long story to get to there, but if you go back to just my background being in the building industry and the green building industry, we were founders in the Green Building Council, and that goes back into the mid '80s. Affordable housing has always been an issue, but when you talk to affordable housing in the '80s and '70s and '80s, it was about for sale housing. When they talk about affordable housing now, it's for rent. Uh, I actually went to an AIA conference that had a session in there that affordable housing is dead. Architects Institute of America. That was probably around 2000. And they were talking about for sale. Affordable for sale housing doesn't exist, and it hasn't existed. And so, what drove this whole program was a couple of things. One, the founder of our company, whenever we'd have a downturn, he would say, Mike, maybe we ought to be building houses. Because we were actually shipping our insulation into 35 states out of Hollis, Oklahoma in 2000. We were training everybody in energy, green building, and even had carbon credits discussed at that time. That's another long story. But so when Tom and I got together, we had so many years. Well, we started really in earnest in 2015. We'd been working together on the cotton gin recovery and different streams out of the cotton gin for about almost 23 years now. But when we got back together to work on this, that comment the founder had popped up. We should be really setting a standard rather than just being a insulation manufacturer. So that's really what drove the program for Huron, is to build affordable for sale housing for farm labor, so the pricing would be under $200,000 in the state of California, and that's just unheard of. So that's where we are with that. And the other thing about the hemp industry, about the building side of this, is that we have research with UC California on uh, wildfire resistant and climate resilient housing, which it's coming. It's essential. The housing stock that we currently build isn't really built for that. We've seen it in the wildfire. So there's a lot going on there, but the idea that we're going to change change the way we do things, that's the goal, and
So
provide affordable housing.
why hemp? How does hemp fit into this scheme? Is it a better product? Is it a cheaper product? Is it what's the concept? What's the stronger concept?
You know,
Product?
hemp is I call it the poster child for this change. Catalyst. It's the catalyst for change in the industry, because two by fours, they worked really well for 200 years, and we have manufactured lumber now. If you look at the percentage of a house that's manufactured, it's probably hovering around half of it. That would be the floor, all the plywood, some of the structurals now are manufactured. If you're going to manufacture wood, if you're going to manufacture lumber, if you're going to manufacture housing with fiber, then you should be using the best you can get, and that's hemp is that.
And it's
We're
fast
not,
growing too. I mean, that's it doesn't take
yeah,
20 years to grow it.
it's fast growing, and it actually can create a better product. We don't want to discontinue using wood. There's a you know a whole marriage there between these materials, but hemp will, and again, it's about using other using biomass from the cotton industry. That's one of the things that Tom and I actually we started with was the cotton uh, stalk waste, cotton gin waste, because there's a lot of it. And so all of these things put together, that's really the future. Now that, hempcrete, I think another way of looking at it is mass walls are really the future of the industry because they have uh, uh, a they absorb heat, moisture, temperature. They have a cycle that they mitigate temperature change and moisture change, mass walls, which is what hempcrete is. And that's really the future of building. I think uh, so the hemp is critical. It is the catalyst to make this change. And then there's just a myriad of products that will come following. Um, but the firefighters in the zones, California. I followed the fires since '98, and the firefighters nationally look at houses now. They have a color coded card that shows the color of smoke that's coming out of these houses, and they just hold it up. Who's ever in charge on the fire, they hold that card up to the house, and if it's got a certain color to it, they stand down. They don't fight that fire. And the firefighters really have been some of our best customers also with our insulation products because their cellulose outperforms other natural fiber outperforms fiberglass and foam
Hmm.
firewise.
The toxicity of the fire is basically what you're talking about. How toxic it is, huh?
Yeah, correct. How toxic the fire is, and so they literally stand down and they're nationally because there's a national hazmat site in Oklahoma. I've met with some of these guys over the years, and now what they're calling homes today, modern homes in the last 5 years, are solid gasoline. That's what
Wow.
they call them. That's just the term they use so when they go to the fire, that's what they're looking at first. Is
Wow.
can we even help this thing? Can we even do
Can't
anything?
breathe. You can't breathe. You can't kill the firefighters. Hey Tom,
No,
I'm going to switch over to you real quick here. How did you? I mean, come up with this whole idea of converting the gin because no one else that I'm aware of has even thought of it. And I've been out there. Dan's been out there multiple times, and I know Mike has. But you took me, and those cotton gins. I'm not sure if I ever went into one before. But the one you're in is so sophisticated. It's amazing. The
Beautiful.
filters on it, the fact that it's run with solar, and then you were a big part of putting was a 3 or 4 acre field of solar to
One
run it.
mega. One
And
mega.
then the other thing was when you took me downstairs, and the thing is 2 or 3 stories down into this cellar, and you were pointing at different metal floor systems you put in, and different pipes. And I was thinking, oh my God, are you? You're one of those mad geniuses. So where did you come up with this idea of doing this?
Well, when you were introducing me there earlier, you mentioned, a little bit about my background. And, I grew up on a farm fabricating. I was a fabricator on the farm, building the different and repair farm tools. And I guess that when you said that, that's kind of what it threw me back to, how did I get this knowledge? And truly is an engineer without an engineering degree, because I have a natural resource management degree. And I, you know, really got into the cotton ginning business out of need, I guess. I was and had family started and needed a job that actually I could devote more time to my farm, because at the same time I had bought a farm. That was my goal from the beginning, was to get my education, and my brother took over the farm I grew up on. So I thought I'd just strike out in this area and get my degree, and I ended up a little, and I was a PCA, pest control advisor, had my license, and making recommendations to farmers on pest control and fertilizer, and help them grow a good crop, and make money, and I was doing very well at that. I was at 3 years, and then as I started farming more, a friend of mine was managing a gin at that time, and I thought, man, I told him, look, you work 2 or 3 months out of the year, and what do you do the rest of your time? He was managing for producers of what we call line gin, a gin for gins for profit and finances growers. And one of my close farmer friends told me to get in the co-op if I was going to get into that. And that really went well with me, because from the beginning, I thought, I'm going to run this like I own this. And we've grown and come through some really, well, just to give you an example, the cotton gins in the San Joaquin Valley was right at 300 cotton gins, and today there's about 11 or 12, and we have 2 of them.
Oh my God!
So I termed the cotton gin, you got to be bulletproof, uh, and make good decisions, and never give up. I tell my guys, good decisions, don't give up, because ginning is relentless, is my description of it, day and night. We just finished another season, my 45th season, and
Oh wow!
75 days of no backup. It's just me and one of the main does a fantastic job for me. But it's a tough business. Most people would walk away from it, but I don't know. I'm just hard-headed about the more things. You struggle with something, the the more I want to make it work. And again, that's what helped me get to this. And I lived in the gin with the superintendent. I wanted to learn the whole process, and I know in my mind what goes on inside those machines. So just took that knowledge, and we had a vacant gin that we weren't operating 5 years ago, and because of the decrease in acreage, and worked this deal with a service agreement with with Mike McGuire and Western Fiber, just mainly to keep those employees employed as good people. I'm committed to them like they're committed to me, I guess. And, we and industrial. In fact, Mike was the one that encouraged me to apply for the Industrial Hemp Advisory Board back in 2017, and was appointed to that board. And really, I was like a lot of people, when I said hemp, I was thinking the worst side of it and kind of skeptical of it all. And went to a lot of these meetings, different conferences, and really seeing the potential there for hemp, for buildings. And animal bedding is another huge opportunity for industrial hemp. We're doing some, I don't want to get sidetracked here, but we're doing some research with a guy out of New Mexico that is doing different tests on herd for bedding. It's a superior product he's come to determine, mainly because he mentions a big outstanding thing is the fly larvae tests that he ran. And again, these are for $1 racehorses. It's so important, he said, that reduction in flies, the absorbency, and he's intentionally leaving the stalls. This herd that we provided to him is bedding longer, doubling up the time, tripling up the time that from the prior material. He said the horses just love walking on it. It's got a cushiony effect is the way he described it for them, and that's coming. That's another use for this industrial hemp. And gosh, we are making product that to meet what people are asking for. In the construction side, there was a fellow that came out from Colorado and used what we had. He said it was number two herd. I said, no, we're going to be number one here for a few, and we'll be, making what you want. We'll keep changing things, and he bought a truckload after that. I don't know, 4 or 5 days he was there. Sent pictures of the building that he constructed. Looks fantastic. Although I'm not by any means a construction building in the building area like Mike is, but I truly believe that on the verge of something really great here. We've got so many things going on from textiles to building materials and animal bedding, and it looks good. We've got, I don't know, Mike, I think you know about this. There's Lawrence Serban down at Hemp Traders has indicated that he's got a purchase order for 2,000 acres of hemp
long fiber
grown for fiber, and it's all based around this green decortication. That another thing that, and I'll say I came up with. I showed him how easy this was to hand strip grain, and I actually hired a crew, and we stripped out by hand about 400 to 500 pounds for a test that went to China. It's beautiful. So it's the best quality for spinning that they've. So we just keep again working on things, and we're doing well.
Yeah, I've got it. You think in terms of homeland security, right? We hear about it all the time, and we're thinking that it's, we need to have more military machines all over the world. But what you just talked about was, the going from 360 cotton gins to 11 in one of the major.
Well,
Yeah.
Excuse me, Mike, it was a little less than 300 cotton gins at one time in the San Joaquin Valley.
Right.
1.6 million acres, and we're down to this year, around a little over 100,000 acres. So 10% the acreage.
And so the question
so,
there is,
it went away.
where is the government in helping protect, what I would consider a vital industry? But I think part of that has to do with the fact that natural fibers are kind of getting taken over by these synthetics. And we all know the synthetics can't be recycled, they can't be reused, and they do damage when they start degrading, especially in waterways, because they mimic zooplankton. So it's kind of like we've gone in the wrong direction. What do you see? I mean, half of these cotton gins, the machinery got sold off to other places in the world. The other ones are just sitting idle. But what do you see? Now we're talking, Mike. I mean, you're a specialist in these natural fibers. What's your concept? What do you think the trend is here?
Oh, is that a question? Oh, for me.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
No sleeping on the job there, boys.
No, it was a cotton question, so I was thinking it was, that to add to Tom's comment about the loss of gins and so forth, the same has happened through Texas and Oklahoma. There's, I would say, half the gins, maybe, or less. There's a little more activity in cotton acreage-wise here, but the natural fiber, it's kind of crazy. I was working with a professor at UW, and one of the things he predicted was in '94, and I don't recall his name right now, but he's a highly respected forester, and he said the country could burn from coast to coast in '94. He said we could have wildfires with the conditions we have right now, and he wasn't really talking solely about climate. He was talking about management and usage and so on and so forth. Predicted these wildfires. And the other thing that he said, this was a lunchtime session at University of Washington where one of the professors told me to go sit by, there was a circle around this guy talking, and he was eating his lunch, and everybody was within 10 feet listening to him while he was eating his lunch. He was just talking. It was bizarre. Brilliant man. And the comment that he said is, we've always had a fiber shortage, always. And one of the things about, the history of, it's plastics, young man, was that they knew that plastics were going to be that replacement, or we're going to make the growth of the planet really, possible. We've known we've had these fiber shortages forever. So, in agreement with your comment, Mike, about mistakes, we took the wrong path.
Well, and I think
And
we can correct it now a little bit. And I just want to kind of move to Thomas, our grow between soil, seed, and water, and Western Fiber, and all of the efforts of you and all of our people from the universities, Cal State and Oregon State. I mean, how tall was it, Thomas? Do we think?
Well, this year we were approximately, it was actually in 2021 was a very accurate measurement of the height of the Chinese rice that we grew. We had, I got a call coming in here, but anyway, we had 24 feet 1 5/8 inches measured by the ag commissioner, ag commissioner sealer. So, yeah, that was
So it was 24 feet, 24 feet, and it was a Guinness Book of World Records.
Well, it was entered in that. But it was entered in that and accepted at one point, and then they said they had almost a year later. They said that they were not going to include any hemp products in their Guinness Book of records. I guess they turned it down, as it turned out in the end. They same thing as that mentality that we're dealing with a illegal plant, a drug, and so that thought and that mindset is still out there, and eventually I think it'll people will understand what we're doing. I wish I could have gotten that change when I was on the Industrial Hemp Advisory Board. I tried to get industrial hemp separated into a category of its own, separated from the CBD. Although CBD has a lot of good out there for people from the health standpoint, and actually marijuana also. It's highly recommended. I've met doctors at some of these conventions that actually moved from traditional medicine into this arena, this CBD and treatment of patients with this plant. So there's value there. But again, my goal is to truly get industrial hemp into these different areas that we're talking about, and this whole gin thing is going to be valuable, across the whole cotton belt.
It's
the biggest thing is that the bulk density is so, just like cotton. One of our largest expenses, our unit cost expense, is moving the raw cotton, the seed cotton, from the field to the gin. It ranks up there with the labor and repairs and fuel on a unit cost basis. This hemp is stock is going to be the same. So the processing plant needs to be located in close proximity. I'm saying within 40 miles, ideally, or less
Correct.
from the fields. And we already have that with cotton. If these gins are sitting out there, they're there because there was cotton grown in that area. And if they grow cotton, they can grow hemp. So
Well, it's a
that's
great.
what's so kind of exciting and about this whole conversion process that's going on at our
It,
location.
it's such a great rotational crop for cotton too. It seems like, and the biomass acts very similar, and the way that you deliver it to the gin is incredible with those modulators. How you could put all that product in there, and those huge 33-inch bales, which we have some pictures that'll follow this podcast of me holding a couple of those plants, and the forest that you walk into is just fascinating. And how many bales we're getting? 5 tons to the acre, and we're getting somewhere near 1,000 pounds, possibly 800 to 1,000 pounds
Yeah.
of seed, and
What's important to me from the standpoint of growing this crop is, and I've told this to a lot of farmers, no herbicide, no insecticides.
wow.
I mean,
Well,
that's
that was so impressive going out to the field and walking, barely being able to squeeze in, and it felt like a whole different place, right? I mean, you could almost not see the sun; it was all diffused. And what got me was the sound. It was like a train on either of my ears going, and I was like, "What is all that noise?" And you told me, "Oh, it's the bees." So we know across the world, especially in the Western U.S., we're using so many herbicides and pesticides that we're killing the bees off. The bee population is in trouble, and here we are. That one little 10-acre piece. I don't know. I don't know if anybody ever did a count of the amount of bees in there, but it was so impressive to know that how the bees really are like companions to the hemp, and that was the impressive thing. And no weeds, the weed suppression, because the sunlight can't get in there. You didn't have to spray any herbicide to kill any weeds off. So it's really kind of a cool
that's
plant.
that's a message that needs to get out there is that insecticide and herbicide, especially the environment we're in now, which is, there's some good to that too. Uh, Katie, well, I forgot her last name, Katie Britt from UC Riverside was doing a etymology study there on that same 10 acres a year ago, the year I had to work the field up, destroy the crop. And she said it's just a beautiful natural environment that it was in balance. In other words, there was the good bugs and some bad, but it was all the best environment for a agricultural crop that she had seen. And I asked her to, when we had to destroy it, she couldn't finish her study, but she did write up a kind of a summary of 1 page of what her opinion was and of this crop, and I've got that. Actually, is something that really needs to be driven home into a lot of people's minds. Ag commissioners, farmers. When we develop these markets and they're coming, this is going to be important crop here in the San Joaquin Valley and in Arizona and anywhere that what I have always said is wherever you can make quality hay, oat hay, alfalfa hay, this can be dried. Some people aren't aware. I always think of the cost of doing not only farming and ginning, but it's we'll dry the crop. To me, that's crazy. You dry it in the field.
You got to drive in the
You've
field.
got the weather conditions to do that. To just from a cost standpoint. It just puts you at such an advantage, natural drying in the field,
So
sunlight and
it's
air.
really a balanced ecosystem. And if there's any particular, obviously you have to have multiple crops and a lot of different things go on to be regenerative. And we hear about regenerative farming, but this seems to be a key piece to regenerative farming, right? And that's what you're saying. It's a circular ecosystem that we're dealing with. And this seems to be just a really good substitute plant to be putting in rotation. And Mike, tell us a little about the end product, because you work with all kinds of fibers. But I think when I was out there, you're talking hypoallergenic. What were you just saying?
If I could interrupt just for a moment, Mike, just one more real important subject, because I think we hit on a lot, but let's hit on the most important subject of all is, hey, water's been a huge problem. And how much water do we have left, and to give to the crop versus what we drink, and so on and so forth. But Bob Hutmacher, I hope I said his name correct, with Cal State Davis University, he did a really radical trial at our field, huh, Thomas? I believe it was at our field, and we came up with 20. I'm sorry, go ahead.
He's a PhD research for many years, cotton specialist at the 5 Points UC Davis Research Center. The University of California, but they have these research centers, and one of them being close by. He's did his trials out there, he was doing some CBD trials back in 2019 when all this excitement about CBD hemp being grown, and he's seen come and visited with me at my farm at the gym, seen the products we were making, and it pretty much has thrown his support behind this industrial hemp and a crop like we've been growing. And
hold on, let's cut. I'm sorry. I need to. That's actually your next guest calling in. On top of your other caller.
That's Jeff. Jeff is actually on.
Jeff, can you give us a couple of minutes? We're just wrapping this first podcast up.
Okay, and so he's out now, so now we're going to have to get a hold of Mike again and ask him to call back in.
Okay. Well, let's chat with...
Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
He's frozen on the screen,
guys.
Right
now.
Yeah, we got to do back-to-back. Do we do...
Yeah, a little bit of an...
So, and Thomas, what I also wanted to bring up is 22 inches of water is what we grew that 20-plus foot tall plant, huh?
About 20% less?
Yeah. Okay, just let me quantify that. That was in 2021. The water that I had was from a shallow well going through a flow meter, and I recorded all the pre-irrigation water and all the other irrigations through the drip system, because I started with sprinkler to get a irrigation on the land, and then worked the field, planted it, and then once it was up, we put out drip tubing like I use in my almonds, I think it's called the 700 drip tube, and spaced it out. I did a little research on how far I could space this and still get good horizontal movement of the water, and it turned out to be 42 inches. And the reason I use this tubing is because I use it in my almonds, and the other thing is we reel it up. We use it over and over again. It's not like some of the drip tape that I think is still used one time. We use this over and over, and with some
hey, Michael, welcome back.
Hey guys, sorry to jump in here one more time. This is the producer. All right, so if there is there a part of that that you want into the...
important.
Let him finish up, Bill.
Hey, Dan?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Let me finish this up, because this 22 inches needs to be validated, and I have that, and Bob Hutmacher agreed that was good, but he said the only thing that's missing is how much moisture you had in the soil prior to the pre-irrigation and post-harvest. So that would have to be included. But we're probably looking at somewhere in that 22 to 24 inch for that crop that produced dry matter around 7 ton. We had some over, some less, but an average of around 7 ton.
How does that compare with cotton?
Dry matter.
How would you compare that with cotton?
You mean as far as water use, and that's something I need to defend too, because we the growers I have are mainly what's called the west side of the San Joaquin Valley, so the premier cotton production out there for Pima, and Pima cotton is 90% of what we grow here in the San Joaquin Valley, and at our gin it's about 98%, almost all Pima, and I've got this data written down, but cotton over the years has went from a crop when it was furrow irrigated or flood irrigated, using anywhere from 3 to 3.5, even as high as 3 3/4 acre feet to produce. Back then we were looking at a 2.5 to 3 bale average. Over the last 10, 15 years, we've moved into this drip with cotton, and currently that drip helped the production. We went from that 2.5 to 3 bale production to, I've got growers that, we've averaged right at 4 bales at the gin, but some of those growers are doing 4.5 bales, especially on that west side, and some about 3.5 with drip irrigation. And they're using about 26 to 28 inches of water. So it's not a huge amount more, just because of the, if you look at and I've done this, it really needs to be posted, is the pound, how much water you use, gallons per pound, a ratio of that. And I've done it for almonds. I've done it for, I don't have these numbers in my head. I should, but I've done it for the hemp because, because I have that data down. I've done it for almonds because I grow almonds, and then I also on cotton. So like Mike and I had talked about once, we're not including the stalk. When I say how many gallons we're using per pound of lint cotton, we're not including the value of the stalk, because this is a big, and especially in Texas, I tell Mike, where you strip the cotton stalk, this would fit into this whole area of building and insulation.
Biomass, right?
Such a multi-use product, yeah.
Yeah, you have all the biomass.
Mike, I'm going to finish with you and come back to that question I had asked before. Why is hemp we just talked about variety of uses. You can use the entire plant for something, right? So it's got a lot of good uses for end product. What makes it, in your mind, special? And part of it, is that in a building material, you can actually breathe in your house without it being toxic, right? I mean, so give me the last rundown of why you've kind of jumped on the hemp, this hemp bandwagon. Sure.
Let me. I guess I want to speak about the cotton gin, what it's actually producing, and kind of explain it that way.
Okay.
If you look at wood fiber, that's our conventional, building material. It's a 3/8 fiber. There's a lot of grades of lumber. You could see what appears to be long grains of fiber, but the comment from the university professor I was talking about, we have a fiber shortage. The hemp plant produces longer, stronger, more fiber, just hands down.
In a shorter period of time, too. We're talking about
shorter period of time. There's no comparison, and it's all related to the water issues that you were discussing earlier. And the interesting thing that happened with Tom and I in the process was when we first started running, I was identifying building materials. There's no process out there that produces the hurd and the fiber in the way that the gin actually treats it. And it's very specific to building materials, as well as textiles, as well as plastics, all the rest of them. The gin traps the dust, the fines, all the plant is put into a.
Can you see all this, guys?
Yeah, these are just 3 different variations.
I have this, which is your fiber. It's beautiful, Thomas. Can you see that, Thomas? And then here was plastic.
Yeah.
We got a deal today on that. And then here was for our bedding. So anyway, these are all here, and we're pretty proud of you guys for making it for us. But we do need to start wrapping it
Mike,
up.
I just want to inject something here. Dan, let me, when Mike was mentioning about and I tried doing this, but again, it's out of my area, but a native forest, a natural forest has so many board feet. And I've looked this up, and I had this number at one time, and I've lost the paper, but I would like to have that information, know what's accurate. The number of board feet in a native forest, I know it varies from different areas. Then I met farmers at some of these conventions that were timber farmers. They were actually, 10, 15-year grows. What do they get in terms of board feet per acre? And then compare that to what industrial hemp in terms of board feet per acre. I mean and then like you say, you're producing a crop every, 90 to 100 days. How does that would be important for people to understand and know. We know the quality of the material, the board product is good. How does that compare with the way we've been getting building materials from native forests and grow
and we know there's a lot of discussion about how using the forest and reforestation that we need a lot longer than the 80-year cycle that they've currently got, because to regrow trees, mature trees, and to stabilize your soil, that geologic time, I mean, those you're talking hundreds of years. And in the forest industry, they're trying to do it, certainly less than a century, which seems like a long time, but it's not.
Yeah, well,
it's
we need to thank everybody here.
Yeah. It's an interesting setup. We're obviously going to have you guys back, and probably we're going to do it out in the field. But I want to thank my guests today, Tom Pyers, Mike McGuire, and just looking forward to this next year or two. We've got so many things going on.
Thank you very much, you guys, for your time today.
Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Like, share, and subscribe for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for additional resources and visit our guest webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey. Until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.